This is part 45 of Was I in a Cult? Quick recap. The church I was going to, which I now consider a cult, was going on a large evangelistic crusade. So I was from the mother church, and we had a church van that was going to be taking a group of us up to the crusade in Colorado. When we got to Colorado, I was chosen as one of the youth leaders, which meant that I was leading a group of 25 girls. Unfortunately, half of those girls were PKs, pastors' kids, that did not want to go on this crusade, and they were being forced by their parents to go, so they weren't always willing participants. It was rather difficult to deal with a lot of these girls as well, and I stayed up late nights trying to counsel them. They were crying, they were having issues, they were having problems, they were not getting along, and it was just a lot. It was like camp. A camp where none of the girls got along. So that was leading to a lack of sleep. Also, I kept coming back with our church van late. So by the time I would get back from being out all day for 12 hours with no food or water, I would get back and the food would be gone, and it would be time for us to go back to where we were staying or sleeping that night. And I would do that several times without food. There was this one lady from my church that thought she was supposed to be the leader and was very upset because I was chosen to be the leader there, because she was a leader in our church way longer than I was. But regardless, they decided that they would put me in charge, and she didn't like that so much. So she betrayed me along with her girls. One of them, which I'm assuming it was Diane, ended up turning in a little bag that I had of some medication, which was my allergy pills and my asthma pills. They turned that bag into the main leadership of the group and stated that I was using drugs, and gaslighted me, saying that I wasn't sleeping or eating, and therefore I needed to go get drug tested. So they took me to a drug rehabilitation unit, had me drug tested, and then the medical staff at this rehabilitation center ended up basically chemically restraining me with some kind of drugs, which, like, I came in there not being on drugs, being accused of being on drugs, but then being poked with drugs. Like, it makes no sense. There's a lot more to this story, so you can go back a few episodes, probably starting in episode 39, and work your way up to where you're at now. So as I mentioned in my last video, I was told by someone in the place that I was at, the drug rehabilitation unit, that in order for me to get out of said hospital, I needed to work my program, which was go to meetings, NA meetings, AA meetings, and, you know, admit that I am a addict, alcoholic, or whatever, and, you know, start working this so-called program that they had. It made no sense to me, and I didn't want to lie as a Christian and say that I had a problem when I didn't have a problem, when I went in there without being on drugs in the first place. The ironic part of the situation is that when I was a teenager, let's say 14, 15, 16 years old, this may have been beneficial, because at that time I was kind of acting out as a teenager, doing some stuff. However, I was not doing anything on this crusade. I was there to serve the Lord and to reach people for Christ, and I was not using any drugs. I could not seem to convince staff that this was all one big misunderstanding, and so instead of lying, I decided that I needed to escape. So one day when we were walking down a hallway, I guess they were taking me out of the main locked facility area, and I was on a floor that was looking like the average place where I would either go get x-rays or labs done or something like that. And as I'm walking, I see which I hadn't seen in the lockdown facility. I seen a set of doors. Now, the doors were leading to outside, and I could see outside, and I was like, freedom. And the only thing that was holding me back was the fact that there was a security desk right next to that door. But I thought in my mind, let me just wait until they're kind of like looking and talking to each other, and then I'll just make a run for it. So that's what I did. As soon as I saw them talking to each other and I felt like everyone was not paying attention, I zoomed out that hallway. It was like a long hallway, and I got through the doors. I was running down this hill, and all of a sudden the adrenaline went away and the medication that I was on kicked in. So I'm like running down this hill, and then I trip or something, and then I fall down, and I'm like trying to get back up, and I can't. So I get to the bottom of this hill, and I like fall down, right? And I'm trying to get up, and then I look up and I see 4 security guards charging me, and I'm like, oh God. And then I'm like, I can't move. And I was like, I couldn't get up fast enough. And then I was like, okay. All right, I surrender. So then they get me and they take me back in. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, why can't they just let me go? Like, I don't want to be here. I don't need to be here. I didn't know what to do after that. Like, they just got me, and then they put me on a bed and put me in 4-point restraints. So I'm laying on this bed, and I've got like my arms in shackles and my legs in shackles, and I'm just like, why am I shackled to the bed? Like, what is their deal about keeping me here? Like, let me freaking go. I mean, man, I don't know. I'm just thinking about it now, and I'm like, they were keeping me as long as my insurance was going to pay them. So, like, they wanted to keep me there no matter what. Like, they weren't going to let me go, because then, you know, first of all, it's not going to look good on their record that they lost a patient, or they let a patient escape. But anyways, they definitely made sure that I was very, very highly medicated, even more medicated than I was before. So I think that's the point where I didn't remember much for the next 2 weeks. Like, I don't even remember taking a shower, getting out of bed very often. Like, I don't remember much of anything. Like, I don't even know if I was coherent. I don't remember anything. Like, I remember sitting on the bed. The last thing I remember for a long time was sitting on the bed, and I called someone over. I was like, can you come here? Like, and I think it was one of the security officers, and I just felt like maybe she'll understand me. I don't know what I was thinking. Like, I probably wasn't thinking, because I was already medicated. And I was like, there is a big mistake. Like, I don't belong here, and I am here because I was falsely accused of using drugs, but I was never on drugs. Like, and then she was like, it's okay. They're gonna help you. And I'm like, they're not helping me. Like, they're medicating me. They're making me use drugs. And I came in here not on drugs. This is a drug rehabilitation unit. Why are they forcing me to use drugs? And she's just like looking at me like, you know, she was really empathetic, but at the same time, I'm thinking, what does this look like from her perspective? Now that I look back at it, she's probably thinking, why is this person telling me she's not on drugs when clearly she is? Because I was put on the drugs that the hospital put me on. And it's like, you know, you can't convince anybody anything differently. Like, there was no convincing anyone. So then I had to resort to lying, even though I was a Christian that did not want to lie. I wanted to be a true Christian, and it hurt me so bad that the only way I could actually get out of there was to lie and say that I was an addict and an alcoholic, and that I was, you know, gonna work this program because I believed I needed it, which was not the truth. But guess what? Then I got out like 2 days later because I said the medication was working. It wasn't.